This is Mater. He's by Woodford Jack out of Shady Acres, Tara. He's 10.5 months here, or preparing him for the futurities. Got a nice way of travelling around his stock and very biddable. I just play around a little bit here with the sheep, and then send him around and bring some cattle up. I often do this with these young dogs. Once I've got a handle on them, instead of just work them on one species and then another species, I'll have two little groups of stock in the paddock, and I'll take him off the sheep and put him on the cattle, and then I'll bring him back, put him back on the sheep. I find it does a few things. It keeps him a little more cautious about how he travels around his stock. Obviously both groups of these stock are well handled, but cattle, he's got to be a little more forceful on at times, and come in. And also by working this way, the cattle don't like to hang out with the sheep, vice versa. So if you wait a little, one group, and hold your dog, one group will drift away, and you can let them go and work the group you're on. And then this is where I start to teach them to look back for stock. Keep setting the scene, because obviously if there was just all cattle, they just hang together all the time. But being the fact that I've got two little groups here and one's sheep, they don't like to mix, basically, like water and oil. So it gives me that opportunity, and I pull him off the cattle there, bring him back to the sheep. I'm videoing this myself, just standing in the middle here with a camera, so can't use my body a whole lot to help direct this dog, so I'm just trying to use my whistle and voice command. It's kept him nice and calm and wide on his cattle here. In fact, those sheep are there too. He's done enough on sheep to realise that if he has to come in too tight on them, that they run and scatter. So having the two groups here again doesn't hurt. You need to have a little bit of handle on your dog before you start messing like this. Always good with these young dogs to be patient, not be in a hurry all the time.
Come over. Come over. Come over. Over. Over.
Waited nice for me there. The other thing I don't like is it's a great instinct for your dog to want to break as soon as a stock break, but then you've got to get control of that. I've sent him back, made him look back here because those cattle drifted away. So now I've got a little look back command. Just send him around the cattle and get him to gather them up. It's just a good little exercise, to help with your discipline. And as I said, it's a handy tool to have on a dog. It's great to have a big wide casting dog, but there's always going to be situations where maybe you need to resend him or break him back further. So you need to have a command on that dog to be able to take him off the stock. He gets away on me here and comes through and grabs a few noses, which is not ideal, but it happens. And I'm on the camera and not really paying enough attention, so I'll just ignore that. And if it looks like it's becoming a habit, then I'm going to have to address it. But if it's just a one-off thing, you just got a bit carried away and decided he wanted to come through and grab a nose, so I'll let him get away with that here without too many consequences. If he was an older dog, I might be a little tougher on him. I teach him to drive these cattle too and steer cattle from behind a little bit, teach him that he can move and bend cattle, take cattle away a little bit. Send him back round these sheep again. this will all just help with your handle, and it's a good
Over.
way of building those little look back commands. Maybe in a bit of an artificial
Over.
environment, meaning we're not out mustering and that. So I've got to create these little scenes and then try and put commands to him so that he's got an idea of what I'm after. Again, being that he's so young, um, I don't need to put him in situations where he's going to be hurt yet. So I'm getting a good handle on him and teaching him a lot of the
Look
things
back.
I want. And so hopefully by the time he's 15 months, a 2-year old, that'll be pretty well established. And he'll be ready to fully go to work. Then he'll be strong enough and physically capable enough of doing, uh, more expansive jobs. This dog's very mature for his age. Like physically, he's got a fair bit of growing to do yet, but mentally he works maybe, beyond his years a little bit. He's got a good confidence in front of his stock. I know these stock are broke in, but you can see the confidence in the dog and the way he thinks about what he's doing. He's not over enthusiastic as far as getting into trouble all the time. A bit of that comes from that. He's always had that little bit of eye and concentration. You don't train that, something that's in them, and then you work with it. You have to make sure when dogs have got that little bit of caution and eye that you keep their feet moving. You don't let them, go to ground too much. I don't think I ever have much trouble stopping this dog. It's in him to sort of to do that, but I have to make sure that I can keep him flowing and make sure that he doesn't just get too sticky too.
Out.
Very good. Good for today's session.